Let's talk a little bit about spot cable. We've been talking about TV, broadcast television, which still gets the largest share in most campaigns of ad dollars. The option to broadcast television is cable television, or as it's known, spot market cable. What does spot market cable really mean?
Well, I think if you think there are 210 media markets, TV markets in the country, and each of those media markets do not necessarily conform to how they should conform. But for example, Washington, D.C.'s media market covers parts of Virginia, D.C., Maryland, and even small part of Pennsylvania and West Virginia, very, very little. So they have this big, broad map of where when you buy one spot in the DC market, you get all of those places, which I think is in the neighborhood of 5.5, 6 million or so people that is in that geography. But spot cable, and these are all little zones that are built to neighborhoods sometimes, to counties sometimes, to even just sets of counties at another time. They all comprise what is the DC market, but there can be 25, 30, I think there are 25 to 30 individual small cable systems in the whole Washington DC market. So what that does is, like, you can actually, if you're a local candidate in this market, whether you're in Virginia or Maryland or even DC, and you're targeting an assembly district, that can be really helpful to buy spot cable, because you can buy a smaller geographic area and get to your audience in a more efficient way than buying the whole DC market, which obviously with 6 million people, that can become wasteful and very expensive. One of the issues with cable, though, that we find is when it becomes a little bit larger than just an assembly district for a congressional district, for example, it can sometimes be as expensive to buy a congressional district as it can buy the whole marketplace as a whole. And so we always have to, as planners and buyers, we have to make sure that we are doing the cost efficiency per voter in our with our media, to make sure that when we deliver a rating, we're delivering a portion of the audience that is as efficient for that program as a broadcast program or a cable program. So
yeah, you're right. The cost can be a lot more, and
the cost per impression or cost per voter on spot cable is higher.
Yes, but the other problem that I find that's frustrating is that the inventory is limited. They don't have as much inventory, so you tend to not be able to necessarily buy what you want, or maybe as much as you want. And we work with campaigns. The students that are watching this right now will be people making these decisions. So my advice would be to them to ask correct questions. Ask about the cost per voter, cost per impression for cable. Don't rely on a number of spots for cable, but a GRP or impression total on TV. Impression totals on digital. You're using different medias and measuring them in different ways.
Because the cable looks cheap, because wow, I got a spot on cable and it only costs $100, and if I went to the TV station, it would have been $3,000. So it looks cheap.
But how many people are watching? Yeah.
And the point about inventory is that most cable channels. First off, not all cable systems in their channels will take local advertising.
That's right.
And the ones that do take local, it's typically 2 minutes an hour that the state that it's insertable.
Yeah. So
on the popular, like on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or ESPN during a campaign, the cable operators can pretty much charge whatever they want.
And I think you see that happening, right, in a lot of Republican primaries. Everybody wants to have Fox News either be a whole part of their buy or just or a strong part of their buy, and it makes sense, right? But then there's only so much inventory, and those rates end up becoming exorbitantly more expensive than other networks, just because they know that it's economically, it makes sense for them to kind of raise the prices there.
So an extreme example, in 2016, as an agency, National Media had 16 unique advertisers in Charlotte. When we're advertising on cable, we're cannibalizing our own inventory.
You're competing against yourself.
We're competing against ourselves for Fox News inventory. And that doesn't count any other Republican agency that had clients advertising or whatever the guys on the other side of the house. Yeah, so we're bumping our own spots at that point in time. And that's an extreme example, obviously. We're cannibalizing our spots on broadcast TV.
We have seen situations where, like in a statewide election, that it was much cheaper to go buy a network spot on Fox than it was to go in all the local markets and buy a spot on Fox. I don't know if Fox would clear a local spot.
Don't clear anything that's Republican. You might be out of luck.